Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave and today I'm going to be answering a question that was sent in by Francisco. Francisco left a comment on my using a noise gate in the FX loop video. He said, hello, very nice video, I like the warm tone of guitar and the soft light of the place. Actually the lighting in here has changed a little bit, I think for the better, but thanks for the compliments anyway. May you tell me what's the blues chord you're playing at 0023? Thanks. Okay. The chord I'm playing at 0023. I had to go back to the video and basically the chord is this one. I'm playing it in like a descending chromatic. As part of a little blues run. So let's take a look at that chord shape, talk about what it is. The reason I want to talk about it, it's quite an interesting chord, perhaps not used enough. And maybe that will inspire you to use it in your own playing, and there's also a little adjustment you can make to the shape to give you a different chord, which I think is also very, very useful, and I'd suggest you try and incorporate that into your own playing as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the chord. I'm going to play it down here. It's fairly straightforward, only need two fingers. It's only playing on the top four strings. So we're going to fret the fourth string at the fourth fret using our first finger. That gives us an F sharp or G flat, depending on how you look at it. In this case it's an F sharp. And then we're going to use the ring finger to bar the top three strings at the fifth fret. Because the chord looks like this, so we're not playing the bottom two strings, we're only playing the top four strings. And it gives us a chord that sounds like that, which, as Francisco points out, does have a bit of a bluesy sound to it. So let's take a look at the notes that's involved in that chord. So we've got an F sharp, we've got a C, we've got an E and an A. Let's just start off with that F sharp. Let's take that as being the root note of the chord. Now when you work out chords based upon the notes that's in them, it doesn't always follow that the lowest note that you play is the root note, but for now let's take the F sharp, let's assume that that's our root note and see how the other notes in the chord relate to that and see if we can kind of make some sort of sense. So we've got an F sharp and the C, so then we say, well, what's the relationship between C and F sharp? Well, the fifth degree of F sharp is C sharp, so a C would be a flat 5. Now, I immediately think we could be onto something here because, as Francisco pointed out, it has got a bit of a bluesy sort of sound, and a flat 5 is known as the blues note, the blue tone. It's the note that you add to a minor pentatonic to give you a minor blues scale. So we could say, well, the first two notes that we've got here are a root and a flat 5. Next note we've got is an E. So what's the relationship between E and F sharp? Well, if you look at the F sharp major scale, an E sharp is the 7th degree of F sharp major, so an E natural would be a flat 7. Okay, that's a chord tone. So we've got a 1, a flat 5, a flat 7, and on the top string we've got an A. And the relationship between F sharp and A, well, if you look at F sharp major, the 3rd degree of F sharp major is A sharp. So A would be a flat 3rd. So that actually gives us some chordal tones. It gives us a 1, a flat 5, a flat 7, and a flat 3. And that chord is not probably one of the more common chords that you come across. You tend to start playing chords, you learn your majors and minors, then you learn possibly like 7th chords and major 7s and minor 7s. But chords with flat 5s in them do exist, they're harmonically correct, but you don't in probably your initial stages of learning the guitar come across these chords so often. And these chords are called diminished chords. The name comes from the fact that there's an interval of a diminished fifth or 6 semitones between the root degree and that flat 5. Now this particular chord formula is 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, and that's called a half diminished chord. The occurs as the 7th chord in the major scale, or occurs as the 2 chord in the natural minor scale. If you have no idea what I'm banging on about, if you go back through some earlier tutorials, and I'll put 1 or 2 links in the information section down there, I've done some other tutorials about chord construction, how to build chords and how chords relate to keys and so on. So if you're not so familiar with the chord theory, maybe go back to the earlier videos. But if you understand chord construction a little bit, then hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying we're taking a 1, a flat 3, a flat 5, a flat 7, and that gives us this chord. Sometimes called a minor 7 flat 5, because a minor 7 chord has got the formula 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, but we'll lower that 5th degree down to a flat 5, and it becomes a minor 7 flat 5, or a half diminished chord. And it's got quite an interesting sound. And I find it works quite nicely just in these like chromatic sequences. You can use half diminished chords just as regular chords where they fit in with the harmony of the piece. But just playing a few outside notes, it adds flavour to a piece of music when you're playing. So that's in answer to Francisco's question. That's the chord I was playing. It was a movable half diminished chord with the root on the 4th string. Okay. What I want to show you though is a little variation we can make on this chord shape. Gives you a different type of chord, but it's also quite useful and quite interesting, and you might want to try incorporating that into your playing. So we're going to play the same shape. So we'll start off with our first finger on the 4th string at the 4th fret, bar the top 3 strings at the 5th fret, but we're also going to bring our thumb over the top of the neck and fret the bottom 2 strings at the 5th fret. So basically we're fretting everything at the 5th fret apart from the 4th string, which is fretted at the 4th. Gives us a chord that sounds like this. Now again, that's got quite an interesting bluesy, slightly jazzy sort of feel to it. And I find it works quite well in descending chromatic sort of patterns. But yeah, it's this chord. Now, for the top 4 notes of this chord are the notes of the F sharp half diminished. It's actually a different chord. It's a D9 chord. So let's take a look at the notes involved. Got an A on the bottom E string. Now this is a D9 chord, so an A is a 5th of D, so that's the 5th degree of the scale of the chord. Got a D, the 5th fret on the A string, so that's the root of the chord. Got an F sharp on the 4th string there, so F sharp is the 3rd degree of D, and on the 3rd string we're fretting at the 5th fret, so that gives us a C, and C is a flat 7 in relation to D. So if we look at the notes we've got a D is the 1st degree, F sharp is the 3rd, A is the 5th, and C is the flat 7. Remember what I was saying before, these notes in the chord don't have to be in order starting on the root. We can invert them, so this is a second inversion because we've got a 5th degree in the bass. And that chord's got the formula 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So that's a dominant 7 chord, just on those bottom 4 strings. That's a D7 chord, a D dominant 7. But let's look at the other notes that we've got on the top 2 strings. We'll go at the 1st string first. So at the 5th fret we've got an A, same as the note that we got on the bottom E string at the 5th fret. So that's the 5th degree of the chord being repeated. But the chordal tone that makes it interesting is the E, which is the 5th degree on the B string. And an E compared to D is the 2nd degree, or if you look at it in terms of chord construction, it's also a 9. It's the 2nd degree, an octave higher. So the chord's got the formula 1, 3, 5, flat 7, and 9. And that's a dominant 9 chord. It's a dominant 7th chord with a 9th degree added. Again, interesting to try and incorporate into your own playing. Basically, any way you can use a dominant 7th chord, you can use a dominant 9 chord. So basically, if you're playing in a major key, on the 5th degree, so this chord here is the D9, so that would be functioning as the 5 chord of G major. So you could use that D9 as a more interesting alternative to just playing a straightforward D7. Again, that's a movable chord shape, so wherever that the note on the 5th string is, whatever note that is, that's the root of the chord. So that's the D9 chord. That would be an E9 chord if I move it up, so the root's on the 7th fret. Move it down to the so it's on the 3rd fret. It's a C9 chord. But it's an interesting shape. Again, 9 chords a little bit more interesting in terms of sound than just straightforward triad-based chords or 7-based chords. So if you look for ways to incorporate them into your playing, it just makes it a bit more interesting. You can expand your chord vocabulary and sort of help with the creative process a little bit. So that's a really, really long-winded answer to a very simple question. Someone said, what's that chord? Yeah, the chord was a movable half-diminished 7 chord, but a little bit of alteration, we can play a dominant 9 chord. So there's 2 chords, quite distinctive sounds. They've got a bluesy sort of feel to them. The first one, I think because of that flat 5, the dominant 9 chord has a slightly bluesy sound because there's an interval of a diminished 5th between the 3rd and the flat 7th degree, which helps to give it that slightly bluesy sound. Like I said, if you're not so familiar with the theory behind chord construction, take a look at some of the tutorials that I'll put links to in the information section. But if you do understand a bit of chord construction, hopefully you've been able to keep up with that. As always though, just experiment, and if you ever do come across somebody playing a chord and you think, I like the sound of that, if it's on YouTube, freeze the video, work out where the fingers are. Hopefully the guitar's in standard tuning, so you know what notes are at those frets, and look for how they relate to each other. Think about, well, if that note was the root of the chord, how do these other notes relate to that? So what would the formula of the chord be? If that doesn't quite work out, treat one of the other notes of the chord as being the root note and see how the other notes relate to that. And generally you're looking for something, there'll be something that has a relationship with a 3rd, something that has a relationship with a 5th, and try and think about how they relate and figure out what the chord is. Okay, that's all for now. Francisco sent this question by commenting on a YouTube video. I do see some of the comments on YouTube videos, but quite a lot of them just happen and I don't get notified by YouTube. YouTube is not particularly good at telling me when people comment on videos. So the best way to ask me a question is if you go here, fill in the form, send your question in, and I'll try and get around to answering it in a future video. If you like this video, please click like, please click subscribe, or leave a comment down there. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video next time. Bye for now. C is the flat 7th degree of... I don't know if you can hear that. There's a crow just landed on the windowsill and is cawing away at me. Quite sinister, but also quite... Anyway,